Hello and welcome to a very special episode of OT, the podcast. I'm here with Andy Green.
Fresh. It's not that special, Felix. I'm here in Geneva, though, which is, I think, special.
That's the special thing, Andy.
Working my way through Watches and Wonders 2024.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to dive into it in a second. Specifically, we're going to dive into, Cartier's collection in a second. But before that, what's your top line take? This is your first Watches and Wonders, your first Geneva show, your first Swiss watch show in a while. What's changed? What's the same? How are you going?
Yeah, let me tell you. So this is, my first time in Geneva, my first fair in Geneva. Previously, it was sort of Baselworld before the pandemic, and then the pandemic came along and then sort of had a few years off. It's great to be back, but it's so overwhelming. It's such a big fair. The Polexpo is enormous. Like, you turn up to it and it is just, and you were sort of saying, oh yeah, wear comfortable shoes. You're going to be running around between appointments and all that sort of stuff. It is 10, 15 minutes between the different ends of the fair. You're walking around, we're seeing people, bumping into people, which is probably my highlight. Seeing all these people that we've had on the podcast, bumping into them in the halls and then kind of having a 10, 15-minute chat and wishing you had a couple of hours to do it.
Sure.
But, if you remember Ted Gushue, Massimo Fraschella, Carson Chan, James Stacey, Jason Heaton, everyone's here, and I'm having like a great time just bumping into them and a lot of the time meeting them for the first time.
IRL.
IRL. You can hear me. I'm a little bit husky and I'm very tired because you just have to power through. And all the conversations, they wear you down. But I've been ranting about my favourites for the show so far. I had a great time at the Cartier boutique as well. So I was in there. Sorry, not boutique, booth. It is hands down the best booth of the fair. And I'm not just saying that. It's just nuts. They've got so many historical pieces, which was one of my personal favourites. So they've got like the 1926. They have like a clock collection, so you can kind of go through and see, all these like custom order clocks that were 1926, 1927. With a lot of the new pieces for this year, they have the original side by side, and they've done like a really creative thing of sort of showing. In some instances, it's like a stone on one side and a piece of gold on the other, and just sort of seeing how they've evolved the design literally 100 years later. So having that all in the one place, of course, the Cartier experience is really, really, special with the bellboys and with the, with the setup and the display. I mean, I also interviewed Pierre Renero, who's the, Director of Style and Heritage.
I believe so. I believe all those words are in his job title, maybe not in.
There's one more I'm forgetting. Yeah. Forgive me. Which was actually amazing. Like, we had a really good chat. That'll come up later.
We'll hear that in a few weeks, I guess.
You'll hear that in a few weeks. That was actually that was awesome. That was the chat I wish we had an hour, not 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And of course, I got to go hands-on with so many of the pieces that Cartier have released this year.
Yeah. So we'll get to that in a second. I think now is probably a good point to mention that. So we're creating this episode of OT in partnership with Cartier. We're going to be talking about their collection as an entirety today, sort of from, Privé all the way through to the jewellery pieces. And over the next few weeks, you can sort of hear a bit more about, we'll go in depth with, your sort of hands-on thoughts and your visiting the manufacturer. Probably you might actually be there as this episode comes out.
The day this drops, I'm at the manufacturer, which I'm so excited for. Like, I actually can't wait to get it. I'm pumped because you went last year and I just was jealous the entire day you were there.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped. It's how I'm sort of finishing the fair. We leave at 6 a.m. to kind of get out there and get the most of the time. It is apparently in a really beautiful part of the world in the Alps. Yeah, it looks stunning. The team is, of course, awesome. But yeah, I'm excited. It's a great way to finish the fair.
I will also say a few other things. One, I mean, as you're listening to this, the fair's probably sort of wrapped up, but our Discord has been popping off. The Watches and Wonders 2024 channel is, constantly updating. It's a ticker feed of, thoughts, opinions, and people asking for prices on things. So definitely give them a follow there. Give them a follow. I don't know. Join our Discord. But you should also, on the Cartier side of things, check out Cartier Watch Community on Instagram. That's their sort of, as far as I understand it, their official watch channel. So for just their watch releases. So that's definitely worth a follow. And we'll link it up in the show notes as well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Where do
Now-
we start though, Felix? Where do we start
Okay.
with the Cartier chat?
Look, there's a few places to start, and I know, there's everyone's sort of got different interests, but I think the one that people have been talking about the most, perhaps unsurprisingly, is the Privé collection. So Cartier Privé is a real. It's an exclusive collection. It's hard to get. It's collector focused, and they use it as an opportunity to celebrate watches from Cartier's archive, that are significant for various reasons. It's in the 8th edition this year. We've seen, the Normal last year, which you're now, in love with.
Obsessed.
We've done the Crash before, the Tang Chinoise, all these iconic watches. What do we get this year, Andy?
We get the Privé Tortue, which is a Monopoussoir Chronograph. I think so. It was originally the late 1920s. It came out. It came out via CPCP in like the 90s, in like 1998.
Yep.
And then it's just come back now. I honestly in a really strong iteration, probably better than the 90s version. If you ask me, it's still very close to the original. I had the pleasure of seeing both and seeing it side by side.
Oh, cool.
It's proportion wise, it's obviously it's gotten better. And from chatting to the team at Cartier, and sort of one thing they do really well is they really do honor their heritage and do these revamped versions really, really well. And sort of the only thing that has changed is obviously, movement technology and case materials, and it's a lot more advanced. It's been 100 years, but there's other things they have to consider which make the case a little bit bigger and the proportions a little bit bigger.
Do you like this? I'm putting my hand up. I just want to say something. I think it's really nice. So I've been doing, while you've been over there actually seeing the watches, I've been doing a fair bit of writing around the watches and, reading all this stuff. So the Tortue, 1912 design originally, but it's Cartier's first chronograph in 1928, Monopoussoir, which is what, obviously almost 100 years later, they're sort of honouring. And that CPCP Collection Privé Cartier Paris, released from 1998, came out as well. I think it's also important to mention, I don't know if you saw the Monopoussoir, did you also see the time-only versions?
Yes, yeah.
So there's two Monopoussiors in, I'm going to say, platinum and yellow gold. And then there is 3 time-only versions, so yellow gold and 2 platinums, one of which has diamonds around the case.
Diamond set. Yeah. So I think my pick's the time only because it's sort of, to me, it's a very clean aesthetic.
Which one?
Oh, the gold, the yellow gold. Yeah, it's just with the black Romans. It's just a beautiful, elegant watch. And just back to the point. So the reason that it is a little bit bigger, like Cartier, I think would make this as true as they could. But you have these things like minimum distances, and for the movement, there needs to be certain thicknesses between the dial. Like back when they were doing these watches in the 20s, they could just put the dial in and they didn't have to worry about all of these other things,
shock resistance.
Shock resistance is a big one, right? So if you go, oh, it's bigger than the original, it's like, yeah, it's shock resistance. And I sort of draw the comparison between cars where, cars get new safety features, which make them, the fenders bigger and the body's bigger and everything sort of blows out. But I found that really interesting, that there is just such a strong desire to keep things as pure as possible. And honestly, it's really beautiful. Like the time only one, it's an absolute standout for me. The Privé collection as a whole is just so incredibly special. I saw 2 Normals yesterday in platinum, and it was like game changing for me. I'd never seen it before, and it's just a whole new level of Cartier. And just when you get hands on it, when you get to see it, it gives you this whole new appreciation of like what that section of Cartier really kind of represents and stands for.
And is that something, this is a genuine question, you've seen them before, like we've seen them in pictures, you've seen them on Instagram. Does that change seeing them IRL? Like,
yeah. I mean, so the first thing I'll say is that the presence that you get from the precious metal, like a metal like platinum, I think there's a bit of a juxtaposition or disconnect when you first put it on. You feel the weight difference to, say, steel, which is you might see like a silver color and go, oh, it's this might be steel, or I'm used to being light, and you feel that. But it's so hard to replicate the details, the things like the lacquers, the dial patterns,
Yeah.
the colors, even the glow of, like a rose gold or a platinum in the light, like the way that the light comes in and then bounces off of it, like that aura. And I want to say, like, especially with those heavier, like the gold bracelet pieces, it's super special, and the simplicity that comes through the dial and the overall design it's special. Like, it is special stuff.
Okay. I got a question again. So looking at the press releases, we'll move on from the Privé in a second. The Monopoussoir is 43.7 by 34.8 with a thickness of 10.2. The other one, the time only, the Privé Tortue watch, is 41.4 by 32.9 by 7.2. So how does that translate? Because looking at the sort of the soldier shots, it looks like the time only sort of has a thinner side, a bezel, I guess it is, whereas the other one's a bit sort of chunkier. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So obviously you've got that extra complication within the movement in the case, which makes it slightly larger. I think the important thing here is that the lugs are quite short, like inherent with the design. The lugs are not long or massive, so that those dimensions are not, on top of lugs that are 5-6 mil long or chunky. Like, it's also a very ergonomic case. So on the wrist, it does sit flat, and it has been designed to have the case sit flat on your wrist and then have the lugs sort of taper down, both downwards and sort of on the sides. So it's still very elegant. Of course, it doesn't. Hearing that the time only is sort of 41 mil or thereabouts is a little surprising, because it certainly doesn't
41
come across.
Tall, sorry. I mean,
yeah. So certainly it doesn't come across that way, and that's just the classic reminder of the spec sheets only mean so much, and actually trying something on is important.
Yep. So you're a fan of the classic sort of yellow gold Privé Tortue. Same here.
Yep. With the black, I mean, it's just classy. It's just
how does
class.
Again, last question on the collection. So the platinum has the platinum time only has rhodium plated hardware and sort of monochrome. Is that a very different feel? Is that more sort of contemporary or same but
I think
different?
that's a good way to put. No, I think that's a good way to put it. It's sort of a bit more edgy in a sense. Like, it is interesting that we are seeing sort of monochrome as a bit of a theme this year. It is. I think it lets the platinum do the talking.
Yep.
And it is such a contrast from the black and the sort of the creamy dial. It's sort of a much more kind of white or maybe ivory. I don't know. I'm going to struggle to describe the dial right now, but it is much more of a
3 hours sleep.
it's a crisper look. So it lets the material and even the strap and the crown really kind of speak a little bit more.
Yep.
But it's sleek. Like, it's a sleek look.
Cool. Let's move on. Let's leave the ground and take to the skies with the Santos de Cartier collection. Obviously, Andy, inspired by pioneering aviator Alberto Santos Dumont. Designed to conquer the skies and defy gravity, if you will. It's also, I find, from a wearer point of view, a design where the bracelet is integral, in modern versions to it. And it's, we're going to talk about the Santos Dumont in a second, which is sort of very closely related, but they're both watches that, Cartier says sort of exude the spirit and style and magic of a pioneer and free spirit. From a more sort of down-to-earth point of view, what was your takeaway of there were several new sort of Santos releases. What was the standout for you?
I think the jewel time, the Santos de Cartier jewel time was quite a standout. It's not the first time we've seen, obviously complications on the Santos de Cartier, but it was sort of the first time I've really sort of noticed. It's a different way, and it stood out to me because it's a different way of doing what effectively is GMT, right? And the second time zone, the classic could have done a GMT hand. Instead, they've done the dual time.
Yep.
There's also a 24-hour sort of indicator on the subdial as well. There's like a little line, which is like a subtle. Here we go. We can tell it this way. I think this collection as a larger whole is in a really good place right now. I think it's sort of it's really it's found its feet, and it's found like a really happy place, I should say, of design and of color and of, you know, strap combinations, style combinations.
Again, I think you're right. The Santos de Cartier dual time, significant interest in the old OT Discord. I think it'll be a really popular watch. And for me, from a positioning sense, it makes perfect sense because it's a sort of a more, for me at least, it's a watch geared towards travel and utility, and that's a very sort of on-brand addition of a complication. So what we're talking about here, in case, you know, we can see it on the screen, I'm sure, large model, 40.2 across, 47.5 tall, thick, 10.1, which is good, still quite slender, 100 meters water resistance. You know, this is it's
ultra wearable, Felix. Yeah. It's ultra wearable, a couple of new dials as well. So there's a grey sort of sunburst and then a brown sunburst.
Okay, so but that's just, we'll get to those in a second. I just want to stay with the dual time. Again, as you know, sort of standard for the Santos de Cartier, worth mentioning the quick switch and smart link adjustment. Again, that wearability, that's something that Cartier has really worked on, you know, those quality of life improvements, you know, making it, you know, super great for the user.
You see that on all their watches, though. That's one thing I love is you see on all of the Cartier watches, they have pretty much got that quick, which I think is just crazy.
So yeah, you did mention you sort of there's two or three other additions to the regular Santos de Cartier. There's the two with what they describe as a brown sunray brush dial, which looks pretty hot, to be honest. So that's in large and medium models. And then there's a two-tone steel case, yellow gold, bezel, grey dial that sort of is shown, you know, at least on this picture here with a grey alligator and a steel bracelet as well. Have you seen these ones IRL yet?
Yep. So the two-tone, I think is quite a clever release. It's sort of very reminiscent of the Santos-Dumont colorway in bimetal in that sort of larger case offering. It's funny for me, I've always liked the Santos-Dumont because it's slightly smaller, but I'm not the masses here. So I know that the Santos, a lot of people think that that's a really perfect size for them. And so they've sort of taken that design and brought it up, which you do see. And to little tangent here, I love how Cartier sort of moved their design cues throughout their collection, like the Art Deco, the color, the burgundies, the reds, the patterns, and you sort of see them start one collection and they do such a good job at moving it around. You know, we saw it last year. We see it this year. If I use the burgundy and the sort of the patterns as an example, the smoky sort of, I think it's like more of like a tobacco-y brown sunburst style is quite unusual because, you know, we've seen sort of green, we've seen sort of blue. It's like it's a traditional dial color, but it's a little bit left of field, and I think it works really well with the Santos. Because of the screws, for some reason, I think that the tobacco brown with the screws and with the different sort of shapes that you see put together like a really nice package. It's sort of on steel versus
looks sexy, Andy. Is that sexy?
It's a sexy watch, yeah. Yeah, on steel versus on, say, a leather strap, it's a completely different watch as well. Like it's sort of, you can swap it out and have something entirely different. I think, I like what they're doing with the sunburst or the sunray kind of dial experience for this watch, putting it in probably their most industrial, you know, looking timepiece, being screws and steel and more steel and steel bracelet. So,
for me, I'm interested to see what your sort of pick of the quartet would be. I'm a very big fan, you're right, of that yellow gold. I've always been a fan of like yellow gold Cartier bezels, especially older, because once they get a bit of wear on them, they've lived life, they just look incredible. And I can't wait to see these in the wild, you know, sort of, you know, I just think there's something really magical about putting the precious metal bezel on where normally it's, you know, the other way around in a lot of ways. Of the four, what are you picking?
I think we're doing the brown sunburst or sunray dial in probably in the medium size for me.
I will say though, I'm really interested to see where they go. Like the dual time, this is, I think, the dawning of a new age of What are we going to see next? That's what I ask about that. Like, this is a solid watch. It's going to have a lot of fans. I want to see where they take it.
I mean, the Santos collection is such a core and has such a significant place in watches and in the market segment that this sits in. It's quite a competitive move. Like it's threatening. It's a threatening play, and I think you're right. It's like a subtle.
It's not threatening, Andy. It's
no. I'd be threatened because it is sort of.
It's what I mean. Cartier do what Cartier do. They're exceptional at it. So
yeah. But it's like, what's next? What follows this? What else can we see? That's beyond just but it's beyond sort of the typical dial, bezel, material mix combination. It's something sort of, it's a little bit more complicated.
I think when Cartier put their mind to things, they can achieve, because they've got it all. Like they've got the expertise, they've got the heritage, they've got the pedigree, they can do whatever they want. And, it's really good to see them in their element, so to speak.
Fantastic.
You said what comes next. I know what comes next because I'm looking at some notes in front of me. It's the Santos-Dumont. Your favourite, it's unfair to say it's your favourite. I'm maybe pigeonholing you there, but you've traditionally been a sucker for this, sort of really dressy design that I think, honours that original design created, with Alberto Santos-Dumont. This has been such a vibrant collection in recent years. It's been such a shining point for a lot of, fans of the Maison. What are we seeing this year, Andy?
Okay, so it's a two-part answer. There's the new Santos-Dumont, which is I think 3 watches, and then there's the Santos-Dumont Rewind, which we'll get to after.
Right.
So for the Santos-Dumont, there's 3 new sort of this kills me. These are so nice lacquered bezels. 1 is limited edition, 2 are not limited edition.
The green is limited. Sucks for you, Andy.
Yes.
Green.
Yeah, the green is limited. Well, it's also in platinum, which is like I put this on and it's perfect. So you've got the platinum, which is the green. You've got the 18 karat yellow gold, which is the grey, and then the 18K rose gold, which is the blue, if I'm not mistaken, which I might be. So they've all got the lacquer bezel, which matches the dial, which has a matching strap. It is so incredibly cool. I mean, the lacquer dials and where they've been able to take the lacquer dials is super, super special. One thing about the green is it's platinum, and this is a little touch that I really like. I found out and I love. It's got the red crown, which was traditionally only offered on the platinum pieces, and so they sort of brought back a little bit of their own subtle tradition in it. It's so fascinating that Cartier has started bringing back lacquered dials to their watches. It's sort of, if anyone could do it, and they're probably the only people that can do it and do it properly. But it's so fascinating and special that they've done it, and it wasn't as prevalent in previous years. So to see them come out in force with the lacquer, with the colour, to me is really, really special. Obviously, the green being limited edition hurts my soul, but the other 2 are just as equally stunning.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, it's the case, and so this is from you might have some more insight either maybe after your manufacturer visit, but each case is coated with a thin layer of less than 1,000th of a millimeter of smoothed and hand polished lacquer. Everything hinges on the finesse of this translucent lacquer, which adds brilliant contrast and depth to the dial's colours. Yep,
it's unreal. Manual wound as well, which is 38-hour power reserve.
Caliber 430 MC for those playing at home.
Yep, which is a well-known movement. I don't like this watch is about like the art and the shapes and I think this is a magical timepiece. It's just design and artistry and expertise on display here. The follow-on from this is the Santos-Dumont Rewind. A more
especially magical piece, perhaps, is the way to put it.
Some say a breath of fresh air. This is a limited edition. I'm too tired to figure out how to read the time on it, but it's so beautiful that I struggle to read the time forwards. Um,
Explain what we're looking at here.
Santos-Dumont, burgundy dial, the time effectively goes backwards. And so I think you might struggle jumping between this and a regular watch, but if this was a watch you wore often and you figured out the process, it's I guess the concept is, rewinding time and sort of viewing it in a different perspective. And so this is what does it. My favorite thing is the case back, because it has the Santos-Dumont, and I posted a picture to our Discord, but it's got, it's got the text, and then it has it upside down in like a Stranger Things sort of vibe, enamel kind of engraving.
Yeah, nice.
It's rewound. As far as the case, it's platinum. So again, seeing more platinum, seeing more precious metal. Like I said, burgundy dial, platinum bezel, burgundy crown.
Hardstone dial, which is cool.
That is
carnelian.
The dial, carnelian red sunburst. So every one sort of has a different look to it. And in spots, it's not a huge dial, but in spots, it's sort of like a vibrant and bright, red. And then it's sort of darker and black and
inclusions and facets.
Slight inclusions, slight facets, like very dynamic. Which is, I think, contrasted by the platinum.
Yep.
Which is so pure and clean and
look, I mean, in terms of the movement, I think it's such a it's a really clever take. Like mechanically, they've inverted a 230 MC. So I'm I'm not a watchmaker, obviously, but it's a flipping some gearings, adding some other bits and pieces just so that it runs backwards, which it's one of those things that's like, wow, that's so genius. It's, so simple. Why has no one done this? I mean, it is a very quirky thing to do, but I think it's absolutely on brand for Cartier. Hey, did you see the box that it comes in by any chance?
No, not yet.
No, so they've made a special note that it's a lacquered wooden box with palladium motifs and Alcantara experience. Like, often I find on these special pieces, the boxes themselves are like equal and worthy to what's kept inside.
Everything they do special so well, right? And this is, again, a little sidetrack, but they do special so well. Everything throughout it, the whole experience from the boutiques all around the world, like they just do a special experience, and it's such a big part of what that brand stands for. And so they nail it. But we need to move on.
We do.
The reflection,
maybe into less comfortable waters for us, Andy.
The Reflection de Cartier, which is where jewellery really meets watchmaking. Some say it's art, some say it's sculpture, some say it's jewellery more than a watch. Can you explain this to me?
I'll do my best. So it's following on. It's a collection that sort of is following on in the same sort of vein from a few years ago, Clash Unlimited and the Santos de Cartier. Reflection is a collection of timepieces and objects that explore, sort of Cartier's, abilities, savoir-faire, and fascination with magic and illusion. Again, it invites you to pass through the other side of the mirror where time plays with appearances. And it kind of does. It blurs the line between, watchmaking skills and jewelry skills. It's fundamentally, we're looking at a collection of open bracelets, that are sort of quite geometric shapes. There's some that are stone set. There's some that have, these really beautiful coloured inclusions in, sort of greens and blues and, diamonds and, lacquers and all sorts of, jewelry finishes, which are lovely. But the key point of the watchmaking side is that on one, I'm sure there's a technical term for this, one end of the bracelet is a small sort of watch face, which has even the crystal is sort of jewel-like in its finishing. The other point, which is opposite it, is highly polished, so you can see a reflection of that. Time in it. I love it. It's so cool.
These are incredible. The collection. So there's 4 different variations. You've got a really incredibly high standard of gem setting across sort of all of them. Diamonds, opals, amethysts. Oh, there's 5, sorry.
Yeah.
They've off the range of sort of the colours, platinum, white gold, yellow gold, rose gold, and sort of seeing the way that the colours are differently, full pave, partial other gem setting, and just seeing sort of how beautiful they can the different beautiful ways that they can take it is really quite special. This is high jewellery meets high watchmaking, I think it's watchmaking incorporated into high jewellery, I should say. This is really special stuff. This is the sort of thing that if you were sitting next to someone at dinner or walking down the street, you just notice it, and you'd be stopping them to have a conversation and hopefully have a conversation about what it is. But it is it's kind of show-stopping as far as a piece.
And you know what's wild? This isn't even technically Cartier's high jewellery or high watchmaking stuff. So this is, that's the step above. So this is their sort of, what for maybe other people would be that top tier. This is, they're still doing it and they're experimenting it, but it's part of their core collection at the moment. So yeah, as you mentioned, there's 5 versions. There's a lot in white gold. So there's white gold set with opal, tiger eye, amethyst, spessarite, garnets and diamonds. That's sort of a multicolored look. There's another white gold with chirospace. I don't know how to say that. Looks nice. Obsidian, emeralds, Privé Tortue diamonds. Then there's white gold with diamonds. And then there's the 2 unset versions in rose and yellow gold.
Beautiful stuff. Okay, so moving on to our final batch of a new Cartier for the year.
Yes.
The animal jewellery watch, which is, as it sounds, animalistic.
There's a lot here. Have you seen any of these IRL?
Yeah, they're in the cases. So this is the sort of very special, need to get someone very important to actually get them out of the cases.
To open the box.
They're so rare, they're so limited, they're so low in production that to actually, get that hands-on experience is quite special and unique. But this is effectively an animalistic take on the cushion, right?
Well, there's quite a lot here. So there is the cushiony ones. There's the 3 cushiony ones, but there's also 3 different sort of bracelet designs: the panther jewellery watch, the crocodile jewellery watch, and the tiger jewellery watch. Those, again, that animal motif. And finally, there's a series of at least 4 ones that look more like a traditional, there's a round case where there's an animal, 3 crocodile versions and 1 panther version sort of encircling the case that has been, obviously fully decked out with stones. But the cushion one, that sort of cushiony sort of circle with a diamond dial in the middle, that's the one that, stole my heart when I looked at the press pics.
Yeah, okay. So the cushiony one, we can start there quickly. They've incorporated the tiger stripes or the zebra stripes in the gem setting, which if you go look at the picture of the cushion or video of the cushion, or maybe we'll pop one up on the screen.
Yep.
How they do it, it's sort of, if you think about some of the gem set crashes that we've seen in the past, it's that same vibe, and it's so intricate and it's so special. I did get it to see actually the panther jewelry watch, the crocodile, and the tiger on display, and these are so cool.
Yeah,
it's sculpture work. It is so much diamonds and emeralds and precious stones.
Yep.
The craftsmanship and the sculpture of sort of those animal heads as well is really quite special, and it's truly sort of like the 3-dimensional experience.
Yeah, I haven't seen it IRL, obviously, but you look at it from the side and they've provided pictures. It's like it's sort of a crocodile and a zebra sort of, entwined, whether or not they're, fighting or, telling the story of time. That we'll leave it up for you guys. The voluptuous oval curls poised to strike around a lozenge-shaped dial. There's 3 versions here. There is the rose gold, white gold, and yellow gold. Is there a particular flavour that you're most drawn to?
Initially, I think the white gold with this sort of the emerald.
Yep.
But the yellow
Garnets.
gold with the I think it's onyx. Yeah, it's tough. I think the yellow gold, because that black sort of lacquer dial really contrasts quite nicely against the yellow gold. So
Yeah, it says
torn.
it's an onyx style. So if that's actually a hard stone, then I suspect if it's onyx.
Yeah, I'm torn. We're at the really special side of
Yeah.
this is fun, gem set, super crazy rare, super impressive. This is showing off, technicity and skills and design.
There's and in that other collection, the it's called the Panther jewelry watch. It is, again, it's that sort of round case.
Yes.
And it's got like it almost looks like a mosaic pattern of just, it's set with garnets, onyx, yellow, white diamonds, enamel. All these sort of jewelry techniques are sort of put together in this beautiful way to create something that's, I don't know. It's not quite watch, not quite jewelry. It's all art.
It really is. This stuff's special. It's like I said. It's if anyone ever calls you up and says, "Hey, this is a boutique," or "You want to go check this out," or "My friend just got one of these," like, go out of your way to see it and to experience it, because this is like unicorn stuff. It's so special and rare, and it's what I'm immediately drawn to. Other pieces you can kind of see a little bit more often. Like this is elusive and it is special, and you understand it when you actually get to see it and feel it and try it on. And most of these, see them in the light, because when you get the gem setting, and it's such a high quality of gem setting and a high quality of precious stones used, when you actually get to see it in the light and sort of see it move around, it's
I got a question. This is not about sort of any specific products, but more generally, I think we've got to sort of head towards wrapping it up pretty soon. This might be like, I think some people might be surprised. Like, I know that it's long been I've had a deep love of the sort of the more jewelry end of watchmaking, and I think it is because it is a lot rarer and more special. Even than a sort of a rare special, like the Cartier Privé, for example. They're beautiful, beautiful watches, but there's something about Cartier's jewelry watches that, I don't know, it feels like a really, to use some corporate speak, a 360, representation of the brand. You've got a bit of everything in there, and I don't know, maybe it's everything that they do well. Is it just me, or is that?
I mean, the thing to remember is we're talking about 110 plus year history, and
just in watches.
Right?
Yeah.
And then jewelry far beyond that. That's a lot of time and a lot of influence to soak up and to develop things and to really become experts. Yeah. And that becomes so obvious when they do release something or when they re-release something. And it's a matter of, looking into their archives and their history and saying, okay, well, what do we have? It's just there's so much influence in the watch industry has come from that 110, 120 year history.
I mean, the first, commercially produced wristwatches,
Yeah, even design cues, shapes, like they have done every shape. They've probably invented them all. So it is really, it's so influential, and they do things from such a position of authority when it comes to
they know what they do
design.
Really, really well.
Yeah, right. And that's how they know who they are. Yeah, right. They've again an identity that's so old, incredibly long standing and well formed. Whereas others come in and out and lose themselves. I think Cartier have really stayed true to their core for a really long time, and that's what matters to them most is doing things that come back to their core and come back to what they stand for and their design principles and their expertise but obviously super grateful to have Cartier.
I got two questions. We're not done yet. I got two questions, Andy.
Okay.
1, 25 words or less, summarize entire collection. On the spot.
25 words or less.
Yeah.
On the spot. Precious metal, precious stones, colourful and full of personality. Don't count in front of me. Pushing it whilst pushing the boundaries in the right way.
That was like 18 words, including the That's really great. This is a question for both of us. One watch coming home with you, or two watches, one for me, one for you, coming home from Geneva. What are you picking?
Oh, it's got to be the time-only Tortue.
Okay, you're sticking with it.
Of what we've discussed, yeah.
Sure,
yeah.
of what we've discussed.
Time-only.
Okay.
Time-only.
Yep.
There's more in the tank. Let's just say there's more in the tank for coming weeks.
What would I go? Look, I really am taken by the I think the Santos-Dumont. Like, I mean, the Tortue, obviously, but we can't have two of the same. That's rude. One of the coloured Santos-Dumonts, I think the colour, would change every day. Maybe the taupe. Maybe that,
I can see it.
Andy, I've got to let you go, but before we do that, we need to thank Cartier for their support this week and in the next coming weeks. Head to cartier.com.au for more specific information about these watches we've just talked about and more, as well as hitting up Cartier Watch Community on Instagram for a follow. Andy, anything else the good listeners and viewers need to know?
Just that I'm going to be obviously heading to the manufacturer the day this comes out, so there's going to be more coming there. We do have some great interviews coming as well from Watches and Wonders, talking more specifically with the people that crafted these collections. So I'm super excited, and we're very, very grateful to have Cartier, supporting OT.
Join the Discord, ot.podcast Instagram, follow on YouTube, like and subscribe, share with your friends, share with any Swiss watch executives you know. The usual.
We'll see you next time.
See you, Andy. Have a good day.